Service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees.
Mostly sunny and 70 on Wednesday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Cheney for WHIO.
This is the Miami Valley's home for Fox News, the most powerful name in news. WHIO.
How do you gain a good reputation? By consistently doing the best you can and outperforming the competition. Dayton Door Sales has a reputation for the quality of their garage door installation and repair. Of course, quality depends as much on people as materials, and Dayton Door Sales employs only experienced professional installers and technicians. See for yourself why Dayton Door Sales is the region's leader for garage door service and installation at DaytonDoorSales.com. Integrity, value, experience. That's Dayton Door Sales.
Restore more with Ram Restoration, your trusted full-service solution for your home or business. Got water damage, fire damage, mold issues? Don't worry. We've got you covered with our 24/7 emergency response. Count on us to restore your property to tip-top shape. Visit RamRestorationUSA.com. Need a new roof or siding? Looking to add an addition? We also offer remodeling, roofing, construction, and plumbing services. Ram Restoration. Everything under one roof. Visit us today at RamRestorationUSA.com.
Marion's Piazza, home of Dayton's favorite pizza. Proud sponsors of Flyer basketball on WHIO Radio. Marion's has been serving award-winning Dayton-style thin-crust pizzas, giant sandwiches, and other Italian specialties in a relaxing old Italian courtyard atmosphere for more than 50 years. Come enjoy a night out at Marion's, a great gathering place for sports teams, reunions, graduation parties, birthdays, and celebrations of all sorts. With 9 area locations, you'll find a Marion's near you. Marion's and the Flyers, 2 winning Dayton traditions.
The 50,000-watt giant of Miami Valley Radio. From Lima to Kentucky, Columbus to Indianapolis, the station that cares about every town in between. We love this region as much as you do. Covering weather, traffic, and news is still our #1 priority. Nothing is more important as keeping radio local, in touch with the community, and relevant to you and your family. Welcome to the legendary 1290 and 95.7 WHIO. Depend on it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. This is WHIO, Dayton's News and Talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brian Kilmeade.
Hi, everyone. WHIO's Brian Kilmeade here, and I am coming to Dayton, and I want to see you in person. So join me at the Victoria Theater for my show, History, Liberty, and Laughs.
I love a good Kilmeade joke, obviously, just as much as the next guy and woman.
Also with Fox Nation. I'll be there Saturday, June 21st. So buy your tickets now at DaytonLive.org.
My self-esteem is gone.
And you can upgrade your tickets for a VIP experience where we can meet before the show backstage and take some pictures.
You'll see the picture online. What was in the picture?
Join me, Brian Kilmeade, in Dayton, all part of the year-long WHIO 90th anniversary celebration. And did I mention I might bring a few of my friends to join me? You never know who might show up.
Now open it for the big names, but when you close the book, you remember the other names. We're not America without those so-called average everyday Americans doing great things.
Buy your tickets now and tell them Brian sent you, only from WHIO, AM 1290 and 95.7 FM, Dayton's weather, traffic, and Fox News station.
Ever tried balancing a dozen eggs in one hand while hopping on one foot? Or maybe juggling cats while riding the unicycle? Sounds ridiculous, right? But guess what? That's exactly what texting while driving is like. Your human brain only has the capacity to focus on one thing at a time. So when you're behind the wheel, give driving your undivided attention.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
If news breaks, we break in anytime. Now, back to America's most powerful talk lineup. This is WHIO.
From everywhere USA, it's Fox Across America with Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, you're damn right it is, and we are fired up. We got a big hour coming your way. Just an absolute embarrassment of radio riches.
He is so full of shit.
this guy.
No, I'm not, Mr. President. We're pumped up. Paul Morrow is going to be here. We're going to talk to Brian Brenberg. And, of course, we're going to get into your calls, text, tweets, carrier pigeons, the whole barnyard jamboree. If it's going on in the world, we're going to discuss it because this show is kind of like America's family meeting. I am the hot mess of a deadbeat dad slurring his speech at the head of the dinner table. And you guys play the role of callers who share your thoughts and things you've discovered along the way during your travels, what they teach you in homeroom today, what you hear on the playground, stuff of that nature. But the point is you're all welcome, whether you agree or you disagree. This is a good old-fashioned talk show.
I don't care where you come from. I don't care what color you are. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how dumb you are.
No, ma'am. Be a Republican, be a Democrat, independent, libertarian. The only thing we ever ask is that you don't be a bang. As we get underway in this hour, I'm fired up right now. I don't get out a lot. I'm a married guy, got a kid. I work, radio, TV. So sometimes they throw me a nice coffee. Jimmy gets all hopped up. And I'm a little peppy in this hour. One of the reasons why is because of what we're getting into up at Columbia University. The president is trying to take away the federal funding endowment, the $400 million a year that we pay Columbia every year, so they can bar Jewish students from going to class. If you've been following these Ivy League protests around the country, it's not particular to Columbia here in New York City. You've seen this everywhere, okay? Seen some of it up at Harvard, where they ultimately had to force their president to resign. And you've seen it across the entire Ivy League. A lot of them have supported Hamas. They consider what Israel is doing to be some type of a genocide, which is absurd on its face because Israel doesn't have a Muslim problem. They have a terrorist problem. There are 2 million Muslims who live peacefully in Israel. Okay? They're not mad that they're Muslim. They are mad at the group of terrorists who paraglided into Israel on October the 7th and killed 2,200 people. They are mad at the neighboring region in Gaza where they get together and teach their children to hate Jewish people, where they harbor known terrorists, where they have no regard for human life. Israel doesn't like that, okay? Nobody in their right mind likes that, but there are people up at Columbia and some of these other Ivy League schools that are protesting on behalf of Hamas. And in the process of doing so, they're barring Jewish kids from going to class. They've barricaded them into classrooms. You've seen them take over official campus buildings. So Donald Trump announced that he was going to take $400 million in federal funding away from Columbia. Okay. We've also learned that ICE agents may have arrested this particular student in question, who is American legally in the sense that he is here on a green card, not a student visa. Okay, that being said, he is calling for violence against Jews. The reason this jumps out at me as a comedian really quickly is because these college campuses were banning comics. Think of the insanity of the moment you find yourself in. Specifically if you're a comedian, because people always talk about, well, why would a comic want to cover the story? And I'll tell you why we want to cover the story specifically. Okay, I'm not a counterterrorism expert, and I certainly don't know anything about Columbia. You know what I mean? The only time I went to Nassau Community College, the only time we protested is when they ran out of Schlitz at Nickel Beer Night. Okay, yeah, you were going to get kids on the quad. Yeah, they were going to be calling for the death of someone, but it wasn't going to be the death of Israel. It wasn't going to be from the river to the sea. Okay, but the point being is, as a comic, it's been so fascinating for me to watch the evolution on speech in the sense that, if you remember this, guys like Jerry Seinfeld, guys like Chris Rock, were announcing 10 years ago we wouldn't do colleges anymore. Can't do colleges. Everybody's too insensitive when it comes to jokes. They'll protest. They'll picket. They'll try to cancel you. Some colleges preemptively did just cancel comedy and say, hey, we can't have comedy here anymore. Okay, because speech is violence. And if someone tells a joke about something, that's going to lead to someone wanting to harm it. Okay, so anyway, no comedy. We can't have you here telling your little jokes, your little balloon animals. We're not going to stand for that. Anyway, we got to run because they're having a Kill the Jews rally over on the quad. We've got to get there to make sure their speech rights are ensured. And that's the world you live in. College campuses that were banning comedians. Comedians. Okay, when we bomb, nobody dies. When Hamas bombs, it's a totally different situation. But the reality is they are standing up for this guy. Now, there are legal intricacies to the case, but I'm talking to you from a moral standpoint, and a moral standpoint only, in the sense that the people who tell you they're the most righteous among us are usually perpetuating the biggest fraud going. I mean, you think of the past week. The Democratic Party wouldn't stand for a 13-year-old brain cancer patient who was named an honorary member of the Secret Service. You're not getting a round of applause for that. Okay, but they'll fight for the death for the guy who wants to wipe Israel off the map. It's a morally bankrupt people who are projecting their own insecurities and inferiorities onto the rest of us to make us accommodate a political agenda. It's really gross. But here is the clip I wanted you to play, just to give you some backstory on the guy, because we are going to talk about this with Paul Morrow. But again, it's another one of those issues where they're fighting on the minority side of an argument and they're not listening to America. Like, America isn't, sitting around going, yeah, we need more terrorists, Yeah, we need to wipe Israel off the map, okay? Trump's electoral win was a rejection of all of that. But here is Columbia professor telling us that this gentleman has become a political prisoner. Clip 23.
Now we're facing a horrifying reality that our own student, a member of the Columbia community, has become a political prisoner here in the United States. This is a dismal moment in American history. We must not go down this authoritarian path one step further.
Okay, now listen, I understand minimizing government's footprint in our lives and things of that nature, maybe concerns about authoritarianism if you have a legitimate ground to stand on. But there's not a word of concern or denouncement for, barring Jewish kids from going to class, in some cases assaulting them, barricading yourself inside of campus buildings on behalf of a group that wants to kill every Jew on the globe. Okay, they're not really denouncing the violence, and they're not aligning themselves in this instance with what's right. And that's what's so fascinating to me, is we were told that these colleges were these elite institutions where these enlightened people, went for diversity and inclusion and tolerance and coexistence and everything.
Not even close.
And of course, there's an obvious hypocrisy to this story in that obviously there's nobody else who could be treated this way. If you showed up to a college campus tomorrow and said you're not letting Muslim kids go to class, there's going to be a national, outspread of insanity. If you barred black kids from going to class, just the same. Okay, and it goes without saying, though, that when there's a double standard, there's no standard. But understand, where they're concerned is not about the hypocrisy. They're not concerned about the damage being done to Jewish students. They're not concerned about anything other than getting their way, because they're a bunch of fat, spoiled children. And in a lot of instances, they'll align with anything just because. Here's Senator John Kennedy talking to CNN last night. Give him credit for that. Not a lot of people going on that channel these days.
CNN is the worst.
A lot of people feel that way. But here's John Kennedy talking about it, clip 27.
Well, Mr. Khalil will receive due process because by now his lawyer has already filed a writ of habeas corpus. Mr. Khalil was involved in the protests. He was a Columbia student under the Immigration and Naturalization Act. If you support a terrorist organization, you can be deported. Hamas is a terrorist organization. Mr. Khalil's side of the story, I understand to be that I don't support Hamas. I just support Palestinians. All I did was file post some Facebook posts. I wasn't involved in any of the illegal protests or the illegal occupation of student buildings or physically intimidating the Jewish people and Jewish students. We'll find out who's right.
So that's John Kennedy. And he's essentially saying they're trying to repurpose this guy as some babe in the woods who's just being wrongfully persecuted because, Hitler runs the government now. And it's my favorite thing in the world is they keep referring to the people on the right as Hitler while the people like this call for the elimination of the entire Jewish community. There's never been a dumber time to be alive, I think, is the point I'm trying to make. I'll give you one more, because here's Josh Hawley, and this is the larger concern for me, is that somebody is funding this stuff. And there is a motivation to continue this sort of thing. And he kind of speaks to that. Clip 26.
We should absolutely follow the money, and it ought to be traced all the way back to its source. And this is why I say, Jesse, the left has gotten by with this for years. This is a great project for the Department of Justice, and they ought to look at all of it. Who's funding these attacks? Who's funding the campus protests? Which, by the way, all of these campus protests, they're all organized, they're coordinated, they're funded. We ought to blow the lid off of that as well.
And he's not wrong. Okay, because There's somebody doing this that makes this possible. And what they've been trying to do, and this is the same thing with Doge, is they're trying to convince you that this is some grassroots effort, and these are just good-hearted, salt-of-the-earth people with a legitimate concern about how people are, being handled. Like we're writing folk rock songs on behalf of terrorists. Like when Bob Dylan wrote "The Times They Are A-Changing," he wasn't trying to draw attention to the plight of suicide bombers. Okay, but they want you to believe this modern incarnation of grassroots folk has something to do with campus uprisings aimed at killing Jews. And I'm telling you, that's just not that's not what this is. And that's where it's so cheap. And the dialogue around the issue is so reductive that it's just denying us an honest conversation. But the good news is we got Paul Morrow here to discuss it. The bad news is we got Paul Morrow here to discuss it. He joins us next on Fox Across America.
A show so good, it's frightening.
I got scared. I dropped my Hot Pocket.
This is Fox Across America with Jimmy Fallon.
This is WHIO Sean Hannity, Dayton's News and Talk, WHIO.
Greg is a real Prevagen user, and this is his story.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm not an actor. I'm just a regular person. 8 years ago, I just didn't feel like I was on my game. I started taking Prevagen, and I want people to know that Prevagen has worked for me. Give it a try. I want it to help you just like it has helped me.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Testimonialist was compensated for their time.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
What do you call charging thousands of dollars for hearing aids? At MD Hearing, we call it outrageous, because hearing should not be a privilege for the rich. It's a basic need everyone deserves. Hi, I'm Dr. Sandra Porps, head of audiology at MD Hearing. If you or a loved one have trouble hearing but don't want to waste thousands for a hearing aid, MD Hearing was created for you by doctors and audiologists. A high-quality, FDA-registered hearing aid for a fraction of the price. No costly doctor visits, no expensive and time-consuming fittings, no bulky, old-fashioned hearing aids that cost thousands. The MD Hearing Neo is just $297 per pair. It's rechargeable and fits discreetly in your ear. Even better, it lets you hear what you've been missing at a savings of more than 90% off the average price of a traditional hearing aid.
Try MD Hearing risk-free for 45 days by calling 800-918-3920. Plus, you'll get free shipping. Call now, 800-918-3920. That's 800-918-3920.
This is a Consumer Warrior Clark Howard Minute.
Okay, there's a weird thing I got to share with you. You know how when you pull a credit card out of your wallet, it'll have a number on it? Well, do you know that next time you get a renewal of your card, it may not have any numbers on it at all? And the reason is that credit card companies are trying to stamp out so much fraud. And there are now electronically embedded numbers inside a card, and that's enough. On your statement, stuff you have from your credit card company will have your actual number available to you, but more and more you're going to find that the number you're going to be using will be tokenized, kind of like what happens if you use Apple Pay or Google Wallet, where it generates a randomized number every time you use that particular card. That's the system we're going to for all credit card transactions.
Clark is WHIO's Consumer Warrior, and you can hear him during Miami Valley's Morning News on WHIO.
Hey, it's Todd from the Evening Edge on WHIO Radio. I know it's many months away, but this summer, WHIO Radio is celebrating Independence Day with the city of Beaver Creek. It'll be a terrific patriotic day with a parade, family fun festivities, and a spectacular fireworks display. This event is part of the WHIO Radio 90th Anniversary Hometown Celebration, and the city of Beaver Creek is looking for additional sponsors to partner with. Thousands of residents will be there celebrating Independence Day, and if you're a local business and would like to be part of this patriotic event, please visit beavercreekohio.gov/sponsorships for details, or call the City of Beaver Creek Parks, Recreation, and Culture Division at 937-427-5514. That's 937-427-5514. And celebrate Independence Day with WHIO Radio and the City of Beaver Creek.
The WHIO call letter still means something in the Miami Valley. The original news legends, Lou M., Don Wayne, Jim Baldridge, Gil Whitney. We are standing on the giants of Dayton radio, and we take their legacy seriously. Nothing is as good as the best local news possible, serving you in your hometown. It's important to us. WHIO was and is the #1 news station in the region. You're listening to the legendary WHIO. Depend on it.
Have you or someone you loved developed a brain tumor or spinal cord tumor after using Depo-Provera birth control injections? You may be entitled to compensation. Studies have linked Depo-Provera to potentially dangerous tumors called meningioma. These tumors can cause serious complications and even death. Thomas J. Henry can help you file your Depo-Provera injury or death claim. Even if you stopped using Depo-Provera years ago, you may still have a case. Don't wait. Time to file your claim may be limited. For over 30 years, Thomas J. Henry has helped victims seek justice and the compensation they deserve. Call Thomas J. Henry now at 800-885-0088. For your free consultation, your call is confidential. Attorneys are available 24/7, nights and weekends. That's 800-885-0088. Thomas J. Henry, San Antonio, Texas.
The Storm Center 7 forecast, mostly sunny and 70 on Wednesday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Cheney for WHIO.
There it is, Fox Across America with Jimmy Fallon. My next guest just got off the outnumbered couch, which means he is now going to be tasked with dumbing it down for a few minutes.
Well, I knew that coming in this room.
That's enough out of you. Yeah. The founder of OpsDesk.org, Fox News contributor Paul Morrow is in the house, and the cheap shots have begun. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Even in that tie. But no, it's nice to see you, pal. Everything's good. Did you guys cover this Columbia story on the outnumbered
We did, couch? We did right off the top. They used the A block, yeah.
That was crazy to me. So the guy is a green card holder, so he does technically have status to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you are doing what he's doing on a campus, because I don't believe it's as innocent as this is a guy who held up a piece of oak tag. Okay, I believe it's a little more involved than that, correct?
Yeah, so, I mean, look, we've all seen what happened last year and what's starting already this year. And, with Trump in office, it's only going to get worse. This is going to be exacerbated for any reason they can find. It's the middle of a Tuesday. It's a work day. They're all out there, all in Union Square. And they're not just students. Okay, so they're all looking for an excuse. A lot of them are professional protesters, as you and I have talked about. Here's where the rubber hits the road on this story. The law is on the side of the Trump administration because the executive, that is Donald Trump, has pretty much plenary power, almost complete power, when it comes to invoking national security reasons to get somebody out, even a green card holder. Here's the thing, though. They're going to have to demonstrate, and that's why this judge has called a hearing, that this guy Khalil qualifies as a national security threat. You can't just do it because Donald Trump says so. So it's going to come down to, okay, fair enough, you have this power, Mr. President. What is the evidence? And here's where I'm going. We've had these protests, which reportedly he's been leading, organized, etc., for a couple of years now, particularly last year, where they broke all kinds of laws. In my estimation, they kidnapped a custodian. That's what he says. Took over a building, did all kinds of damage, intimidated Jewish students, wouldn't let them go to campus, etc. All of these are egregious crimes. They were state crimes, a lot of arrests. Columbia dropped all the charges. So, what evidence does the Donald Trump administration have here, does DOJ and DHS have, that they can present to this judge that this does qualify, Mr. Khalil qualifies as a national security threat? And the reason I bring that up is because you and I talked about this last year. where were the cases federally against these people? You know, the state charges, they were happy to drop, Columbia. You know they would do that. But where were, the reporting was that Iran might have been funding some of these things through NGOs and everything else. There should have been deep federal cases that you can now pull out of the closet and say, here's the evidence, here's the testimony, here's what we ripped out of the phones, this is what we got from surveillance. He's clearly a demonstrable national security threat. Launch him. I hope they have some of that stuff, because it would be a terrible precedent if they lose on that metric.
Yeah, that would be awful. Let me ask you this, because we did kind of talk about this last year. Was there a political motivation not to bring those federal investigations?
100%.
Is that what it was?
God help us, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I remember saying it last year. We've hit a point. I remember saying this last year. We've hit a point where it seems to be tacitly acknowledged as okay that you can, in some cases, beat up Jewish students for being demonstrably Jewish. I mean, how did we hit that point, and how did we not have a mass meltdown in all of our media, including, of course, the mainstreams, which put the blinders on and seem for some reason to say to themselves, you know what, this one is okay because we think it is on the side of some greater good, which I cannot fathom.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And they tried to spin this as like a genocide by Israel, but Israel was actually having a dance party when this started. In the midst of a ceasefire. They've got plenty of Muslims living in their country, I believe, just short of 2 million.
And the Palestinians live better in Israel than they live in any place else in the Middle East.
And there is a specific problem in that region where neighboring countries don't want that specific group of people because they don't believe that they value life the way the rest of us do. And you've essentially got a guy who's a mouthpiece for that and so much more for that up at Columbia. I think Trump, in terms of cutting federal endowments, you know, he is using the leverage that he does have. And I guess that's the limits to what he does have, though, in the sense that, you know, these people, there is an appetite for this. And I guess it is paid. Because I don't, like, I was talking about this earlier. If you were to pull the issue, okay, it does not pull. Like, the country is not a pro-Hamas country. Okay, that's what I was going to say.
No.
You know, and I mean, if you were to pull paid protesters, they're pro-anything.
Right.
But that's the bigger, you know, the bigger problem here is that there's got to be a way to target and identify who's said, because the federal money is the federal money, but it's that other money. That's what Josh Hawley was speaking about. Is there a way to figure out what that is?
I mean, what we should be doing, and that goes to the stuff I was talking about earlier. Once you start to get, you know, maybe I'm just 10 years behind the times here or something, but like when I was working, if you had indicia of Iranian money, the government of Iran is a designated terrorist organization. All right. They are designated under the State Department and Treasury. If you had Iranian money coming in to anything, it was a massive red flag. That's a big case. If you have Iranian money going into campus protests that are advocating for the destruction of Israel, attacking and intimidating Jewish students on campus, the First Amendment goes right out the window, and you are in very safe territory to collect on these people, to use assets, to do all the things that intelligence agencies do to build cases. And that just seems to have been thrown by the board because, I don't know, Joe Biden didn't have the wherewithal to really make the decision. It looks to me like some of the more radical elements of the Biden administration were really running things on that side. And, of course, I am talking about the DHS entity, particularly. Mayorkas really seems to have a lot of sway. And as he was bringing in Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and Mexican cartels over our border, he was happy to countenance all of this, and we're living with it now. I just hope that they can slam dunk this because this is a test case. And I just hope that there was a consideration of all of this, and they said, let's make sure that the test case is the right case.
Amen. Well, listen, it's rough stuff, but as we bid you adieu with 20 seconds to go, we can all take solace in knowing the stock market's doing well. So that's good.
Yeah, it's great for my pension.
Paul Morrow is going to start another website after this.
Shake somebody down.
Check them out at opsdesk.org. We're back after this on the big bad one and only Fox Across America. There it is.
This is WHIO's Brian Kilmeade. Dayton's News and Talk is WHIO.
All the local local news notifications you need.
For kids today, we have dozens of schools closing early due to the storm.
All the local emergency weather information you need.
Standing by for another update on this huge storm about ready to hit the Miami Valley.
All the local traffic red alerts you need.
I-75 is closed in both directions. You could be sitting here for over an hour.
Download the WHIO app, Dayton's #1 local news app. Download it today. Dayton's News and Talk is WHIO.
Schools. He has since been removed from the classroom pending the outcome of the investigation. Our next scheduled news in 30 minutes and immediately when it breaks. I'm Will Harris on 1290 and 95.7 WHIO. Dayton's News and Talk depend on it.
The Storm Center 7 forecast, mostly sunny and 70 on Wednesday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Cheney for WHIO.
This is the Miami Valley's home for Fox News, the most powerful name in news. WHIO.
How do you gain a good reputation? By consistently doing the best you can and outperforming the competition. Dayton Door Sales has a reputation for the quality of their garage door installation and repair. Of course, quality depends as much on people as materials. And Dayton Door Sales employs only experienced professional installers and technicians. See for yourself why Dayton Door Sales is the region's leader for garage door service and installation at DaytonDoorSales.com. Integrity, value, experience. That's Dayton Door Sales.
Carts and Parts is your home for all things golf car. With 0% financing options available for qualified buyers, you can get that golf car you've always wanted.
Call us today or visit us online at cartsandparts.com. That's cartsandparts.com.
From a 50-year-old male doctor I trained, dated July 7, 2024. Dear Dr. Merkel, I've been on blood pressure meds for 25 years. Within the third day of taking this scheduled supplement program based on blood and other tests you ran, I documented a huge drop in my blood pressure to 138/88 without meds every day. I've been on a supplement program and proper food intake for almost a month. After I cut grass today, I sat down and my blood pressure was 123/81. This was without blood pressure medication. I've noticed my blood pressure staying lower longer as I stay on Dr. Merkel's recommendations. After so many years with high blood pressure and 4 stents, to finally get the true cause of my hypertension is such a relief. Thank you, Dr. Merkel. Signed, Dr. Eric. Maybe there's a safe, simple, natural solution to your problem too. Call 433-3241 and listen every Saturday, 11 to noon, to Take Two Healthcare right here on WHIO. I'm Dr. Merkel.
We've been going to the same Skyline for 11 or 12 years now. When I see that familiar face at the drive-thru, it makes me feel good. Just making that connection, seeing them again. It's like going home. We always make sure that we eat as a family. And on the busier days, hitting the Skyline drive-thru is perfect for that. It's always a good experience, and everybody in the house is happy. We eat Skyline once a week for lunch or dinner. Yeah, sometimes it's 2 times a week. Skyline is definitely my family's favorite restaurant.
If news breaks, we break in anytime. Now, back to America's most powerful talk lineup. This is WHIO.
There are other diseases that can masquerade like cold-induced urticaria, and she says they'd want to make sure those diseases aren't causing any of the symptoms. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Did you hear the news? Now you can. With instant updates from Fox News for Amazon Alexa, breaking stories and top headlines, the economy, and so much more. Brought to you by Fox News, America's #1 cable news network. Plus, setup couldn't be easier because everything's ready to go in the app. Just say,
Alexa, play news from Fox.
In Fox News.
It's the latest when you need it, on demand from Fox News and Amazon Alexa.
Fox Across America
with Jimmy Fallon. Shout out to the great Paul Morrow. Read his writing about crime and punishment and litigation and activism and everything in between. Opsdesk.org. I found out about Paul from Dana Perino. She's like, you got to read this guy. He's credible. He's a retired NYPD inspector. And he just knows everything about the ins and outs. And it's funny because like within 2 months of me finding out who he was suddenly a Fox News contributor, and he was all over the channel because he just really gets these issues, like really truly understands the ins and outs, the follow the money, the follow the law, the precedents, everything in between. And it's always good to have him on to offer you clarity, because all I'm trying to do on the show, if you were just listening tomorrow, you realize just the same, is I want you guys to have accurate information that you can do whatever the hell you want with. Okay, that's kind of what we see the show as. It's like a public utility. We don't want to be in charge. We don't want to steer the way you vote. We just want a forum where we can share our opinions honestly and let you do whatever the hell you want with the information we give you. And that pertains to every subject, including the economy, which we're going to be getting into with Brian Brenberg next. Okay, Brian Brenberg, as you know, is the host of 2 hours a day of TV on the Fox Business Network. He hosts the Big Money Show, and he is a dude who, as a father of 3 kids who moved here from Minnesota, really takes a kitchen table approach to analysis, because that is the one thing that we should all be united on, is the quality of life in this country is shared by everyone who inhabits it. It's not like, well, it went good for Republicans but bad for Democrats, or good for Democrats, bad for Republicans. It's either good or it's bad. And when it's trending downhill, it's trending downhill for all of us. Obviously, just the same if it's trending uphill. So we're trying to do this we're all in this together mentality. You know, like in COVID, they were like, we're all in this together. You got to stay home. The lock